Welcome to the 100 Days Unleashing My Superpowers Campaign. Today I have a great inspirational leader, Heike Truol. Heike is a former colleague of mine at my previous employer, Anglo American, where I worked for about 10 years. I was working in her strategy team in Johannesburg and she was based in London as head of strategy. We reminisced about the good old days and how we grew in that organization that has actually produced great leaders across the globe. I had an awesome interview with Heike. Heike, she is a C-suite non-executive director for Clarkson Plc. She has spent more than 25 years in the corporate world with over a decade in the mining industry. Initially as head of strategy, then executive director for commercial for Anglo American in London. Prior to that, she was a management consultant for Marakon Associates and Deloitte. How do you influence decision makers to advance to C-suite in your career is a question that I always get from most of my clients. It's becoming clear that the role of social capital in the advancement of women is super important as you move up the ladder. As you rise in an organization, it is no longer about what you know, but the relationships you build. Watch this inspirational interviews with Heike Truol. His story will inspire you to reach for your dreams and to build your network as you unleash your superpowers. Thank you. What are some of the barriers that you faced yourself throughout your career in this male-dominated work environment?
I think it is about sort of inclusion and being able to participate in the corridor conversations, or as everyone walks into a meeting and the conversation may be about football or about cricket or about areas where you as a woman may not feel included or can't participate. So it's more that it's the unconscious not having as much in common as the other counterparts in the room, and that's very much about inclusiveness. And that's something I felt more in a male-dominated environment, rather than that I was denied an opportunity because I was a woman. I felt that a lot less, but it was much more the ability to build relationships because it felt like others in the room had so much more in common. So that's sort of a bit of a barrier that I sometimes felt, rather than you can't do that because you're a woman. We did unconscious bias training probably about 2 years ago, and we had a group of actors coming and play out skits of exactly these sort of situations. People walk into a meeting, there's 3 that have something in common, the other 2 feel excluded. And it was a real eye-opener for a lot of people in the room about their unconscious biases. But also, we all have unconscious biases. Now, I've got unconscious biases, so it was really helpful to also, as you think about inclusion in the organization or barriers, remember the unconscious biases that you've got yourself. And I think women are often their own worst enemy. So, we talk about wanting to be included in a male-dominated environment, but why don't we look out more for each other? So I think that's a really important one to recognize as well, that the unconscious bias isn't just against us, it is, we've got them ourselves. So that's a real eye-opener.
You have a son.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What are some of the conversations you have with him, right? It's the same even when you have, let's say, if you had a daughter, what are some of the conversations that us mothers have with our children?
Correct.
That starts at that young age and it then goes into adulthood.
The 3-year-old wants to wear pink. Of course you can wear pink. Anyone can wear pink.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're right, you kind of catch yourself. Yes, of course you can try and wear a skirt. But it's society is, particularly in children, is so much more shaped into that's what a boy does, what does the girl does. I don't think we had that growing up. I felt that the children today are much more, even though we say everyone's equal and everyone can do much more, and maybe our mothers were more traditional than we are today. But it strikes me that the school environment or society feels more like that's what a boy does, that's what a girl does. I don't believe I had that growing up.
The role of social capital in an organization.
I think this is a mistake very many women make, to put their light under a bushel, or stand in the shadow, and not talk about their achievements. We often think if I do hard work, it gets noticed. Yeah. And it will get noticed, but it will get noticed even more if you talk about what you do. And quite often I say to people, if you think you're almost showing off with your achievements, then it's the right amount. Then it's the right amount of talking about your achievements. Because we often think, oh no, I can't put myself out there, or I can't talk too much about myself. But I think men definitely do that more, or tend to do it more. So I think women need to do it as well. I think in the C-suite of becoming more senior, it is not just about hard work, it's actually working smarter. And I think working smarter means empowering your team. It means managing upwards, downwards, but also sideways, building relationships. So have strong relationships with your peers, have a network, and have strong relationships with the people above you as well. So I think that becomes far, far, far more important. Because I think particularly then, and I noticed that in my interviews to get onto a board, it is about the fit as well. It is about the relationships. It is about being a technical expert got you to where you're at. The next level is far more about the relationships and how you can work, how you can contribute in the broader sense.
What are the 3 top stories, what I call your epiphany moments, that propelled your career? Can you take us through those stories?
When I did my MBA in Australia, and it was in a different country, in another language. It was a postgraduate degree, and I entered into it thinking, oh, should I do that, or should I do a undergraduate? And then realized how well I was doing. And I will remember driving home after the graduation thinking, wow, I'm on top of the world. I can do anything. I've done my MBA, I did well, I've got a job in management consulting. Yeah. The world is my oyster. And I'm distinctly remembering this drive and this feeling of anything's possible, which was great. So it was a real sense of, wow, where could I be in 10 years and 20 years? Where will I be tomorrow?
What are some of the things that women are not doing currently to succeed?
Women do some of it, could do more of it, but sort of a generic one is always look for coaches and mentors. So with that comes look for informal ones, build relationships, network, keep the network alive. And if you're in an organization, think outside of the department you're in. Who could I chat to? What's interesting? And then the other one is, and I've said it earlier as well, is support other women. Build a network there as well, but support women, below you or on the side of you. Yeah. Then don't be afraid to ask. What's the worst thing that can happen? Someone says no. Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask. Yeah. And tell others what you want, because how would they know what you want if you don't tell them? Take a risk sometimes. So challenge yourself to do something that feels really, really uncomfortable. And once you've done that, and it's worked out well, write it down. And in a moment of where you're low, or think, oh, can I really do that? Read back that, what you've done and how it felt. And that should give you the confidence to do it again. So savor these moments where you put yourself out on a limb and thought, wow, that actually paid off. I was really uncomfortable, but it felt so good.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's great.